Morrowind is what we are calling the next chapter of ESO. It is, in MMO terms, it would be called an expansion, but it's kind of a modern console game. It's a little more than that. And I'm going to talk about a lot of the different concepts that went into what is Morrowind, what does it look like, and how does it fit into Elder Scrolls Online. But first, a little history. I'm sure at least some of you in here, who has played the original Morrowind in here? Yeah, okay, well, see, there you go. All right, a good percentage of you, yes. It's a fantastic game, launched in June 2002, so it'll be 15 years after that we launch ESO Morrowind. It really was the first sandbox RPG developed by a Western studio that was a mass hit. It was for PC, but it was also one of the first big RPGs on console on the original Xbox. So it really defined what console players think of as an RPG, and it really was the foundation that Oblivion and Skyrim were based on, because it started the Elder Scrolls name. It had a lot of really cool systems in it that were different from what other games did. It looked different, it felt different, and to remind you guys what it looked like, so yes, 2002 graphics. But the important thing here is that it was different. It wasn't a traditional fantasy game in that sense. It was a little alien looking. It was just different. The screenshot in the upper right hand corner has some mods, so it's up-res a little bit. But the other two are there. So what we wanted to do was take that feeling and make an ESO expansion / chapter out of it. So we announced that we were doing this late last month, and we did a big release announcement and launch trailer. And just to remind you guys what the launch trailer was like, I'm going to run that right now.
What do you ask of me, assassin?
So I had to play it all the way to the end just to hear the music. So, as you can see by the trailer, there are a lot of things in there that talk about what ESO Morrowind is. First of all, the Dark Elf assassin that you saw in there is Naryu Virian, who is a character from the original ESO, who is your guide to Morrowind, and we'll talk a little bit about her in a little bit. You got to see the new class, which is the Warden, which is the guy that controls the bear. And of course, the number one thing that you see, especially at the end, was you see Morrowind. You hear the music. It's very nostalgic. We want to make sure that players understand they're returning back to a place that they were 15 years ago. And that is what I'm going to talk about for the next couple of minutes. Before I do that, just a quick note on why we're calling this a chapter and not an expansion. Of course, it's an expansion in the general sense of the word, but since ESO is different from other games, it's especially from old school MMOs, it's not level based. We are avoiding calling it an expansion because expansions to an EverQuest player or a World of Warcraft player is specifically means it's for endgame players, hardcore. You increase the level cap. It's a new area, but you really have to be an experienced player of the game to appreciate it. That is not what this is. This is a new entry point into Elder Scrolls Online. So you can play as a level 1 character there's a new tutorial that leads you right into the Morrowind story. It includes the original game. So if you're a new player who has never played ESO before, you can just buy Morrowind and play through the awesome new content and then go play the entire rest of the game. If you are an experienced player of the game, you can just upgrade to Morrowind and bring your existing character over and play it. Or start a new character if you want. So again, all this is possible because of the changes we made in 1.0, which makes the game not level-based. So it doesn't really matter your experience level, you'll have fun in the game. So Morrowind in ESO, and by Morrowind here I'm specifically talking about the island of Vardanfel, and the island of Ardenfell is a specific region of Morrowind, and that is the entire area of the game map of Elder Scrolls 3. So we took the same footprint, the same height map as it's called, from Elder Scrolls 3, brought it into our game, edited it to make it more modern, and that is the basis for ESO Morrowind. So if you're familiar with Elder Scrolls 3, by walking around the world, you will feel right at home in Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind. Reminder, we're 700 years in the past. We haven't changed that. So just like the original ESO, you are 700 years before the events, even in Morrowind. Just as a history lesson, the first four Elder Scrolls games, Arena, Daggerfall, Morrowind, and Oblivion, all take place in about 20 years apart from one another, so they're very close together. Skyrim then takes place about 200 years after that. We take place 700 years before Morrowind, so there are lots of things that happen in our version of Morrowind that, of course, have not happened yet in Elder Scrolls 3. So, for example, spoiler alert, if you in Elder Scrolls 3, you discover there is a god sleeping at the bottom of Red Mountain, right? So he is still sleeping there in our time frame. So you're not going to go to the base of the mountain and wake up the god, because you do that 15 years later. But if you did that in Elder Scrolls 3, you'll find lots of fun, nostalgic moments leading around the mountain that kind of hint at the fact that there's something there that you're going to find out about in many generations in the future. So we have a lot of fun with that nostalgia and understanding that some players have been there before, but in the future. So the island of Ardenfell is a little different than it was in Elder Scrolls 3. The volcano has not erupted quite as much. There haven't been many cataclysmic events. So it's still volcanic ashlands, but there are lush coastal areas with farms, just like there were in Elder Scrolls 3. Life forms are still alien. They're insect-based a lot. They're not creatures that you would see in the rest of Tamriel. And obviously, it was the location of Elder Scrolls 3. So Vardanfell is populated by the Dunmer, which are the Dark Elves. They are intensely political, intensely clannish. They really don't like people that are from outside of Vardanfell. So even if the player is a Dunmer, they assume that you're from parts of Morrowind that aren't on Vardanfell, and they still don't like you. That's how insular they are. Just a reminder, when ESO launched, the base world actually has some parts of Morrowind in the game, but those parts of Morrowind are on the coast, on the mainland of Tamriel. They're not the island of Ardenfell, which is a whole separate Morrowind region. The Ashlanders are kind of the nomadic original Dunmer, and they don't even like the other Dunmer. They're very insular and clannish. And the Morag Tong is something that you'll hear a lot about. That is the Assassins Guild of Vardanfell and Morrowind. The houses that control the politics in Vardanfell basically need a way to keep order, so they're not at war with each other all the time. The Morag Tong are a group of assassins that the houses use to kill each other, basically in a politically sanctioned way that doesn't cause civil war all the time. And so one of the main characters is Naryu Virian that you're going to find in the game, and she is a member of the Morag Tong. So in ESO Morrowind, you're going to find a lot more about the Morag Tong than you have in the past. Religion in Vardanfell is much the same as it is in mainland Morrowind. It's ruled by the Tribunal, which is Sothasil, Amalexi, and Vivek. As I know, all of you guys played the launch version of ESO, so you know in the Ebonheart Pact, one of the main storylines was helping Amalexia. So she is in Mournhold in this time frame. Sothasil is away. You don't know where he is. He is away. He goes away for a while. And Vivek is going to be the center of the story for what is happening in Vardanfell. They're mortal gods. They can die. Again, this is a kind of different part of the world. Each one rules a slightly separate part of Dunmer society. The three of them together are kind of the religion of Vardanfell. So Vivek is the main focus. In the story, you find out very early in the story that Vivek is very, very sick and getting weak. And as he gets weak, Morrowind starts to fall apart. And he needs your help to figure out what's happening, and that's the backbone of the main story. So just a quick overview. Morrowind has about 30 hours of story content, including the main quest and then all the side quests. its theme is Return to Morrowind, and it's very much, if you played Elder Scrolls 3, it's going to be a homecoming for you because you'll feel very much at home. It's got a couple of new game features that we have not had. It has the first new class that we've added since launch, and that is the Warden. It has PvP Battlegrounds, which we'll have a whole separate discussion about in a few minutes. It's got a new tutorial, new music. It's really, if you buy this as a new player of the game, it's going to feel like a very much a Morrowind experience. And to give you guys an idea of what it looks like, we made in the development studio for that same presentation that we did, the cool Summing Up 2016, this is the video that we used to introduce Morrowind to Bethesda. So it's all in-game, it's just got a light effects, light soundtrack and things, but it's pretty much as the game looks right now in development. So that's what it looks like, very nostalgic. I'm going to have a couple more videos of landscapes and so forth, but you saw kind of the breadth of different areas, from ashlands to farms to giant mushroom towers to so it's a very disparate, kind of different looking area of the world than the rest of Elder Scrolls Online. So we also are adding the first new class in Morrowind, the Warden. We'll go into a deeper dive in a minute, but the top line info is it's nature focused, so it's kind of the Druid Ranger archetype. And its big feature is that there's a permanent bear combat ally in one of its skill lines. So if you want to play that archetype of being kind of closer to nature, and you want to have a big bear following you around, the Warden is for you. We're also adding PvP Battlegrounds, and I want to take a minute to talk about this. We'll go into a deeper dive with videos here in a minute. But PvP Battlegrounds are the first time that we've had small-scale PvP in Elder Scrolls Online. These are 4v4v4, so it'll be 12-person, 3 teams fighting each other. We'll go into details in a minute, but the important point to get across here is this is in addition to our giant open-world PvP in Cyrodiil. So we know that players sometimes want to do open world, sometimes want to do smaller battlegrounds. So we're basically broadening the PvP offerings in ESO by doing this. And also, we have the first new trial in the game since Thieves Guild. Yeah, since Maul of Lorcaj. So it's called the Halls of Fabrication. Trials in ESO are what we call raids. They are 12-man, extremely difficult combat, and with 12 people with great rewards at the end, like cool armor, cool weapon sets that you can only get through trials. So this is all themed in the Clockwork City. For you guys who watched the video, that recognize that part, that ball that was spinning that the camera then went into, and you were inside a Dwemer area. That is the Clockwork City, which is an area you went to in Elder Scrolls 3 as well. It's like a whole Dwemer universe inside a little ball, and it's created by the god Satha Sil. It's going to be part of the storyline of the game. Will take you there, and the trial takes place there as well. That's where you fight the giant Dwemer Colossus, which is the big monster you saw in the launch trailer. And then, of course, there's tons more. There's 2 public dungeons, a whole lot of new loot, achievements, sky shards. We also have a giant scavenger hunt quest, so if you guys did the Museum of Orsimer Glories in Orsinium, where you had to go all around the zone and find different things, we have a similar giant scavenger hunt type quest for Morrowind. So that is the summary of what Morrowind is, kind of broad brushstrokes, what we're trying to do with it, what it looks like. I'm going to switch over and do a deeper dive into Vardanfell.